Hey everyone, welcome. I'm Elly, one of the trainers at Maxon, and alongside me is Jonas, Matt, and Simon. Hi guys.
Hey there.
So just quickly, can everyone see us? Can you hear us okay? There should be a little kind of chat box where you can ask us questions and let us know. Perfect, cool. Can everyone see my screen as well?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, okay,
Perfect.
fantastic.
Yep.
Cool. So
it's almost like we've done this before, isn't it? It's like these are the things we've got to check off.
I've got my
Ken.
list down
all
here
looking
just
and sounding good. And hi to Newcastle from Jay as well. So,
Yeah, hi Jay.
we should hold up a laminated card of all these things every time we do it, shouldn't we?
I've already got one pre-printed.
Oh, perfect.
So welcome back to another of our demystifying post-production webinars. Just a quick heads up, this webinar is being recorded, so if you've registered for this week, you'll receive a link to watch this recording in an email later on today. You can also find the links to our previous recordings and our previous kind of like series on this Red Giant website. What I'll do, I'll link that in the chat for you guys to all see. And a couple of other links. We've got a Cineversity website, which has a bunch of like Cinema 4D tutorials on, as well as a YouTube channel with our Maxon volume program training. And here's where you'll find a lot of the kind of like demystified series recordings, as well as Jonas's very own quick tips. So I'll make sure these are all linked as well. And recently we've just done some of the IBC 2020 stuff. And so you can watch a bunch of these recordings as well if you want to catch up on kind of all the new stuff. So yeah, I'll make sure I link all of those things in the chat for you guys. So as many of you may be aware, we've just released a new version. And so we thought we'd take this chance to show you some of the cool new features that you can find like in this release. Yeah, so without chatting too much, I'm gonna throw it over to Jonas, who's got some great stuff planned for you guys. And remember, there is like a chat and question box, so you guys are more than welcome to drop some messages, questions to us, and we'll be sure to answer them as much as we can. So cool, if I chuck this over to you now, Jonas, you ready?
Almost. Move some windows around here. So here we go. Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to. So you're all as Maxon Red Giant, so I might have to kind of
changing my name. We all log in as organized, and we all have the same name, don't we?
Shall I randomly select someone?
No, I think I'm the one on top because I started the webinar.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yes, that's me. All right. So here we go. Now you should see my screen, and I'm also going to switch off my webcam so we don't get into trouble because of bandwidth. So can you all see my screen, but not me?
Yes.
That would be perfect. Right. So yeah, let's just dive in. And yeah, Cinema 4D R23 is out, and it is a release that focuses on animation, but it does not just only contain new animation features, but I just want to start with the animation stuff. And there are some bigger features in there, but also a lot of these tiny things that make your life easier when you do animation. And the first thing I want to show you here is in this very nice scene, the new auto keying behavior. So if I now enable auto keyframing, and let's say I want to go to the coordinates tab and I want to, well, just animate the Y axis here. I can just move it around. And let's say I want to start here, and then I go a few frames further, and I bring it down to the ground again, and so on and so forth. Then you see that it doesn't well create keyframes for all parameters on that object, like it did before, but just for the one or for the ones which have got an animation track already, so the ones that you already set a keyframe for. And this is pretty much the same behavior as in After Effects. So I think a bunch of people will be very happy about that. All right, so let's say this is my animation. Maybe I want to add some movement in X direction. So let's just move it over a little bit, and here we go. All right, the next thing you see is that, well, this is not really a bouncing ball here because it's more like a sine movement here. So we've got an ease down here, and this is something that never happens with anything in the world. So let me deactivate auto keying for now. And I'm also going to switch to my animate layout. And I'm also going to switch to F-curse and just make the position Y active. So here you can see what happens. And what I want to do is I want to just adjust the tangents here, like so, and also like so. And now those two are looking great, but the last one doesn't. But what I can do now is I can just select this here, and then I go to Edit, Copy Ease, and I can copy over the easing that I just created here. So then I select these three here and just go to Paste Ease. And now we also have got the right animation here. So this looks much better. Okay, another thing that we have, which is quite cool, when we select the bowling ball here and we see that these parameters here have got keyframes, maybe let me also keyframe just another one so you can see what I'm going to do next. I'm gonna enable, or I'm gonna just show the filtering here. There's some new filtering options, or there are some new filtering options here in the attributes manager. So what we can now filter, for example, is animation tracks, and this will just show the tracks which are animated. Position, all three axes count as one parameter. Then there's also the option to filter by keyframe selections, and not too many people use keyframe selections yet, but I can show you how you can create one. You just select these or all of the parameters that you want to be part of the keyframe selection, like these. Well, that was too much, like so. And then you right click and go to animation, add keyframe selection. And now you see also, if I deselect them, they are still orange, dark orange, and that means they are part of the keyframe selection, which means these are the parameters that you're potentially going to animate. And now you can filter everything by keyframe selection, which is also quite cool. All right, there are also a few more things like filtering here in the timeline, or you can search for stuff. For example, you can search for all position tracks, or you can also search for the subdivision track that I created. There's just a lot of stuff that you can do here. And yeah, that's the two things that I wanted to show regarding the little stuff that is quite important in your daily workflow. The next thing I'm going to show you is a new deformer. So here we've got a hand, and I'm also going to make the mesh visible. And then let's just select the ring finger joint here in the hand, and let's just do this. And this looks A, painful, and B, not right. You can see there's a lot of stretching, and if we double click the weighting tag here, you can see why this happens. Because this weighting that we created here is almost like binary, almost it's like 100% or 0%, so there is no smoothing in between. So what we now have inside of Cinema 4D is a nice deformer, which is called delta mush. And let me also just create a few more things that don't look very good now in this state here, but it will turn out to look much better once we enable the delta mush deformer here. So let's enable this, and you can see, okay, this is much better now. So if we select the delta mush and go to the Objects tab, and maybe you might think, well, I could have used the smooth deformer for that, then I can show you what the smooth deformer would have done with this, simply by bringing up the smooth view here to 100%. And you see, it's not the same thing. So delta mush tries to maintain the volume and the original shape as good as possible, but when it comes to animation, it of course deforms everything as you might want it to be deformed. You can also use several delta mush deformers. You can also add a delta mush tag, so you can create or you can set up different parameters for different parts of the geometry, and then just restrict the effect to them by using a vertex map. That's also possible. All right, the next thing I want to show you is actually my favorite new animation feature, which is the pose library. So let me open up the pose library. We go to Character, Manager, Pose Library Browser, and then we've got this little window here. And I will just fold everything for now. And you can see that we have preferences here. We've got a JP database and we've got a nodes database, Jonas. And so this has something to do with databases. And in these databases, we can store poses, which is quite awesome. But because they are databases, they are not stored with the Cinema 4D scene, but separately. So if we go to Edit, Preferences, and go to Files and Paths, there is a section here that's called Databases. And here you can mount any folder on your hard drive, or you can also add a folder or just a file. And when you mount that here, this is going to be used as a database. And you can store all of your poses in there. So the good thing about the pose library is that this is not restricted to one character, but you can use the poses that you created for one character on another character with the very same rig, for example. And this is quite cool. So first of all, let me show you how these poses can be created. Here we've got the pose library browser. Top level are all of the databases. The next level is the library that you create, or the libraries that you created. Then there are folders, and in there we've got all of these poses that I created. And well, let me go to one of the arm poses here. You can see that the pose library searches for an object called L_cola_con+, and also for LIK arm and so on, and LPV con. And so this is very important that you know that the pose library searches for names. All right, now enough talking, let's just create a pose. And to do so, I select the library here, and then I click this button to create a new group. And I will rename this to be head. And once it's called head, I just select the head controller here and create a new pose. So in this new pose, we can see that we've got the head controller selected, and everything is set to 0 here. So this would be our pose that we could use to zero everything out. So I will just call this default. And then I'm going to create another one. But before I do that, I just turn the head to the right here. And then I click this little button here. I call this turn right. And now you can see, if I unfold this, that the rotation B is set to -55. I can also, if that's too much, for example, or not enough, I can change that to, let's say, 60 or -60. And then this will be stored with the scene. And the good thing now is that I can just yeah, move the head back, or I can, yeah, I can just switch or blend between those poses. In the end, if you're finished, or once you're finished, it is important that you click this little button to save the pose libraries. You can see the asterisk here. This means those poses have not been saved yet. Once you click save, those will be saved, and now they are part of the database. If you close the database without saving and you reopen it, those changes will be lost. All right, now let me show you another window here, which can be found here, the thumbnail view. Where is it? Hello, thumbnail view. It must be somewhere behind my other stuff. Oh, come on. Where is it? Oh, can I open up this one here? Yeah, this one can be opened. This one can also be opened. Okay, it was somewhere behind it. All right, so here we've got the thumbnail view. And the good thing about this, the thumbnail view is that once we have our thumbnails ready, we can just see what these poses are and not just identify them by name. And we can just click them in order to apply them, or we can blend them in. And this is a really incredible tool for animation, because you can create all of these poses, and then you just go from pose to pose instead of all of the keyframes. And this way you can create the animation. You can also use this, for example, for visualizations where you have got characters in your scene. And let me show you why this is possible. So, well, in such a nice way. So let me go to default here, and I'm going to go to the content browser, and I search for the female here. So it's the female character that has got the same rig as the male character. And this is very important. So with the female character, and I will move her to the side here, I can now apply these poses to either just her, or to both, or to every character in the scene that has got the same rig. So if I switch the limit 2 here to global, for example, and I click the fight pose, you can see that both are now in the fight pose. Now they are both in the walking pose. And now they are both in the thinking pose. But I can also set this to, let's say, selection hierarchy. And now I select just the female character, and I make her walk. And then I also go to arm left, and let's say I want to make her wave a little bit, just like so. And then, well, maybe a little bit more. And then I go to the hand poses and do either this or this, because this feature rocks. It's very cool. And just imagine you've got a huge library of characters that have got the same rig. You can do, or you can create a pose library for all of them, and then you can have those characters, for example, in your visualization. One is sitting, the other one is walking, the other one is thinking, and so on and so forth. So this is quite cool. But I wanted to show you another scene. So I go back to the pose library browser here, and I open up my furniture thumbnail view. And I'm also going to switch to the living room that I prepared. So what we have here are some poses: a door open, closed doors and drawers, and a drawer open. And if you have a look at the poses themselves, you can see that door open is just a simple door parent object. Door underscore parent is the name, and the rotation is going to be 90 degrees here. And drawer open searches for the name drawer underscore parent, and the position in Z or Z is minus 35. And here, closed doors and drawers just searches for both of them and resets them to 0. So what I can do now, if I set this to global, for example, is I can open all doors, or I can open all of the drawers, or I can set this to be limited to the selection hierarchy, let's say for this thing, and just open these. And I can also unfold them and just open one drawer here. So it's very flexible. And the best thing about that is because it's searching for a name and doing stuff to an object with that name, rigging is incredibly easy, at least in this situation. So let's go to the content browser and let's search for the media wall. So here we've got the media wall, and I double click it just to add it to our scene. And here we go. Right now, if we just open the drawers, let me set this to global again. We open the drawers. You can see that these drawers here don't open. Why is that? Because if we unfold it, and let me also get rid of the expresso text here just to make sure that there is no expression, and because I really want to show you how easy it is. We've got these two drawers here, and as I already told you, these need to be renamed to be drawer underscore parent. And I do this with both of them, like so. Now let's move the thumbnail view to the other side. And let's make sure that we select both of them, go to the coordinates tab, and unfold freeze transformation and freeze all, so that the coordinates are zeroed out up here. And now we can open the drawers. Can you see that? And because it's set to global, it's opening all of the drawers. And now let's do the very same thing with the door here. So we just
go
down.
Question for you, Jonas,
Yeah.
if that's okay.
Yeah.
We've got, is there a basic pose library in Cinema 4D's content browser at all for people to try out?
No, because you have, well, the pose library is linked by name to a rig or to anything. And so if you use another rig, for example, in the character case, this won't work. It needs to be the same rig, or at least the same naming in the rig. That's important. Yeah.
We do have some rigs to try out in the content browser. So if anybody wants to play these, play with these pose libraries, then they can do by just searching in the content browser for various different character rigs. But there's no pre-made pose library as yet. Another question quickly before you carry on. Can you choose one of the poses and record the adjusting of the poses live?
Well, you can turn on auto keyframing, of course. Yep. So this is possible. And yeah, then what you would need to do before is to set keyframes for all of the parameters that might get keyframed, so they will be recognized by the auto keying. But other than that, yes. So the pose library is a tool to pose the character. You have to set the keyframes yourself or use auto keyframe.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
All right, so let's continue with rigging the door here. And I already went down the hierarchy here to find the door, and we do the very same thing, door underscore parent, because that's the name that I used for setting up this pose library. And again, freeze all coordinates. And now if we open the doors, you can see that this door here opens as well. So this is a really neat feature, and well, I really like that. It's simply awesome. Okay, next one. Or are there any other questions right now? I take that as a no.
There was one more, just a quick one from Rob. He says, where are the icons in the thumbnail view coming from?
That's a good one. Let me go to Pose Library browser. So with every pose, you can click that button and it will create a screenshot of the viewport. And this is going to be used as the thumbnail.
Perfect.
All right. Good. All right. The next thing I want to show is the new retargeting. So if you don't know what retargeting is, let's imagine we've got an animation on a character and we want to transfer that animation onto another character. This is what you need retargeting for. And the old workflow was, well, let's say a little bit clunky, and we improved it a lot. So let's just play back the animation here. This is just a walk cycle from Mixamo. And I want to transfer this over to another character, which is this guy here, a puppet. And in order to do so, we need to go through a few steps, and I want to show them to you. All right, first of all, let me select all of the weight tags here and reset the character to its bind pose. Well, that's not mandatory right now, but I always like doing that. And then what is important is that you right-click the character, go to rigging tags, and add a tag called character definition. And with the character definition tag, you can, as the name suggests, define the character. So let's open the manager here. If we do that, you can see that we've got pre-made body parts here, and we can also add body parts. And if we unfold them, you can see hips, spine, neck, and so on. And what we need to do in order to get a character definition is to assign joins to these categories here. So you could do that by dragging and dropping them in here, but we also added, especially for Mixamo characters, we already added well, a name filtering that makes it possible just to extract the skeleton with one single click. So now you can see that if we go to spine, we've got 3 spine joints in here, then we've got the neck joint in here, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And now the character is more or less defined. So the only thing that is left is to set the reference pose. But let me just have a look at the other character again so that we do that right. You can see that our human character is in an A pose and the puppet is in a T pose. So we need to line them up, otherwise the walk can be transferred, but it will look a little bit strange. So let's just create a pose for the human here that is pretty much the same. So I go down the spine here and just rotate a few of the joints, something like that, like so, and for the other side as well, so that we've got a T pose for him as well. Okay, so that's looking good. Now we can say set this as my reference pose. All right, now we've got the reference pose here, and we've got the other character with the very same reference pose. And if we now open the hierarchy for the other character, you can see that this one already has got a character definition on it, and it has got another tag here, which is the character solver tag. And this is the second step that you need to do when you want to transfer an animation from one character to the other. Yeah, you need to transfer it, actually. First of all, we created the definition, and then you need to transfer the stuff from one character over to the other one. So the character solver tag just comes with 2 inputs here. One is the source character definition, and the other one is the target character definition. So all that we need to do now is to drag and drop the source character definition into this field here. And now we can hit play, and you can see, wow, it's working. And the good thing about the character definition is that this also works with rigs that are, that have got a few differences in them. So if one character has got just 2 spine joints and the other one has got 5, that doesn't matter. So that's really cool. The next thing I want to show you is a new library that we created, and I want to get rid of our initial character here, so that we just have got the puppet in here. And then I'm going to go to the content browser, and I go up to the new library, which is the motion capture library. And this motion capture library comes with one model, which is this guy here, and more than 40 clips of motion capture data. So we can, for example, use the jogging loop, double click it, and now we can see, okay, we've got a jogging rig. How can we transfer the animation onto our character? Very easy, because you can see that this motion capture stuff already comes with a character definition tag. So all we need to do is to go to the motion solver and just drag and drop that character definition tag in here. Okay, now we've got one jogging character in the scene origin and the rig that is still moving here. But yeah, to solve that, we just have to make the character here a child of the motion offset object here. And now he's also jogging. And yeah, I want to encourage you just to have a look through that whole library and use that stuff. It's really cool. And yeah, I'm also pretty excited what you are going to come up with that stuff. And now I want to go to the next one, unless you've got questions.
This is like speed training, isn't it, Jonas? You're just dropping all these new features on us. So...
but now we're quite good, because yeah, 30 minutes until now is good. I know that already.
Yes, absolutely. Thank goodness for the recordings that we're posting. We're also going to be posting, I think we'll dig out some links where you can find out more about this and some more about the features, because we've got some more material coming on to University, haven't we, Jonas?
Yes, and yeah, I actually want to refer to that now. So, because actually I didn't finish the whole animation stuff, I forgot about the two new rig templates that we have got. So when you create a character object, and I don't know if you did that before, but our character object comes with a high number of character templates, and there are two new ones, which are the face rig and the Toon rig. And what I have got here is the Toon rig, and I want to show you a little bit of stuff that you can do with that. So let me just pose the character a little bit like so, and let's move the hips a little bit down, and let's also just move the hand to some place like here, like so. Oh, my daughter is coming. Hi. Du musst mal kurz raus. Oh, she just wants to say hello.
Hello.
Hi.
So here we go. That's the nice part of being in home office, right? A little bit of family
Got a lot
life
of hellos in the chat as well.
Yeah. I will tell her. All right. Yeah. So far, this rig is nothing special, but now it's going to be really special from now on. So let's do this. We can stretch everything. It's all squashy and stretchy, and the rig, well, won't break at any time. So you can also select the knee, for example, or the elbows, and just scale the controllers here. And this way you can create bandy limbs. Like so, or also here at the elbow, perfectly works. And we can also scale it in another direction just to make body parts thicker. We can also do that with that part or with that part here, or we can also fake a little bit of perspective just by bringing up the hand, and just imagine we had a camera perspective like that, and this way it would look like the hand was very close to the camera, although it isn't, it's just scaled up. And well, you can see the character doesn't look sporty at all anymore, but this is something that is very complicated to create in a rig, and it is incredibly stable. So when I played around with this rig, I never broke it, and I usually can break every rig somehow. I didn't manage to do that with this one here. Let's also have a look at the hand rig. So we've got these controllers here for the single fingers, and we can also move them around to do some like snaky or wormy movement, if that's even an adjective. Or we can do that with the whole hand, which is quite nice. And no matter what we do, we can still select the controllers for all of the single joints here and move them as well. So this is incredibly cool, really. All right, let's also select the head controller. We can do a lot of stuff with the face. We can, move the brows, for example, and do some sync here. So that's also something that hasn't been part of the old rig templates. We now got a separate face rig, and the Toon rig also comes with a face rig. We can also move the tongue in here. And the good thing is, as with the hands, we can still move around the controllers for all of the parts of the face, and it will all work. So that's a really cool thing. And regarding that, let me jump to Safari, because here I've got Cineversity open, and since Friday, there is a new tutorial series about the Toon rig and how you can set it up, because in some areas this is a little bit complicated, especially the face. You need to know what you do, and Sebastian Pfeiffer, who created this incredible rig, was so kind that he created a tutorial series about that. So definitely check this out if you want to rig a character using the Toon rig. It will help a lot. All right, next topic. Let's jump onto this into this scene, and we've got
just before you do that, Jonas, there's a couple of questions we've got in the. Are you able to see the question list?
Well, let me somewhere. Yes.
A couple of questions about poses, and are there any tools for mirror poses? And a couple of them I think Matt's answered in here as well. Just wanted to see if you had got any comments on those quickly.
Yeah, mirroring poses is actually something that is not as straightforward as you might think, but right now I actually don't know of any way to mirror a pose. But I can just tell you that we know that, and we are aware of it. So if that's hint enough. Okay, can you pop the eyes out? Okay, let me jump back. Let's give that a try. Let's go back to the Toon rig. I guess this is the controller for the eyes here. So yeah, look at that. We can just make the eyes pop, or make them smaller, or whatever. So question answered. Next one. Well,
that's the face expression that you pull after you've bent the finger backwards the way that you did earlier, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
No, I think they're the main questions. Oh, one thing, can we use BVH files with motion capture stuff? And is it possible to make our own motion capture stuff to be used for the rigs and things?
Well, it's all a matter of the character definition. So all you need to do actually is to well, have a reference pose, and once you do a motion capture, you will always have a reference pose, like a T pose, and you can absolutely bring over motion capture data to Cinema 4D once it's in a file format Cinema 4D understands. BVH files. Well, I don't know actually. I think you need to convert it to FBX or something. But once you've got the rig in place, you just create a character definition, and then you can transfer the animation.
Cool. Thank you, Jonas.
All right, so let's continue with two things that are quite exciting. One is the new remesher. So let me quickly break down this one here. We've got, well, a hand-drawn spline here. I put it into a volume builder, and then I use the a volume measure on here. But let's say I want to have a different edge flow, or maybe even just triangles and stuff like that. And to create all these sort of things, we now have got the remesher inside of Cinema 4D, and this is an integration of instant meshes, if you know that. And as every generator, we just need to make the object that we want to remesh a child of the remesher here. So here we go. That's our remeshed mesh, and we can bring down the density just to see it better. Right now it's quad dominant. It still has got some triangles in there, but we can also set it to triangles because for some design works, I just prefer to use triangles. Oh, we can also smooth it a little bit, like 2 iterations. Yeah, that prevented some, well, possible damage up here. And now I'm happy with this one, and I'm going to throw that into something you all might be excited about. And let me change the layout here to go to nodes. All right, so here we are in the new node layout of Cinema 4D R23. And you might have heard of it. We now got a technical preview of our scene node system. So also, as you might have heard, we are rewriting Cinema 4D since a couple of years now. And well, in the last releases, you've seen a few little things that were based on the new core, for example, the node materials and a little bit of other stuff. And now, well, this is the first iteration, the tech preview of our C node system, so that you can create like everything inside of Cinema 4D using nodes. We are not there yet, it's a tech preview, but we will get there. So let me tell you what the basic node workflow is. So here on the left, we've got a list of node categories, and you can see that some of these categories are quite full of nodes, especially the math category. But there's one category that is really important, which is the operator category. And let me just create a primitive operator. And here you can already see, okay, this seems to be a little bit flexible. Let's put it like that. I'm also going to move the attributes manager here on top of the objects manager because we don't need it for now. All right, in the primitive op, we can set the primitive type, but the first thing you see is that you don't see anything. Maybe let me also disable the mesh that we implemented here, that we created here. So what we need to do is we need to connect the op output or an op output to the scene, and then we are going to see something in the scene. Also, you can see that this object won't show up in the object manager, but this is on purpose so that we don't mix the two systems, the old system and the new system. This will make more sense in the future, but for now it is like that. Okay, so let me create something like a sphere here, and let's do some other things to that sphere. For example, let's create a color. Well, we can hit C to bring up the nodes commander, but I just decided to go with the operators here. So let me create a color operator, and we just drag it onto the Upstream here, and now we can adjust the color like so. We can also add a material. So if we want to delete that and instead add a material, we can add a material op. This is like the material tag in the objects manager. So now if we had a material, let's create one, we can apply this to the material up here. Now we've got the material in here. Let me change the color so you can see that. All right, then we can also add some transformation stuff, and this can be done by using the matrix op. So we are affecting the matrix here. Let's just move it up by, let's say, 100, and so on. If we want to have multiple objects in the scene, we need an operator that is called children op. So let's just wire this one up. And now by using the children op, we can add as many inputs as we want and also as many objects as we want. So let's create another primitive op. Let's set this one to torus, for example, and let's just wire this up. And now you can see that we've got 2 objects in here. All right, so this is the basic concept. You just need to have an upstream ready. And in the end, you need to pipe the upstream into the scene. That's how you create something in the scene node system. All right, now let's create something a little bit more visually appealing. Let's put it like that. And to do that, I want to import this geometry here into the node system. So what we need is a node, and I'm going to search for object because we're going to import an object. Here we go. And there is one node which is called legacy object import. And if we have a look at its parameters, you can see that it has got an input field for objects. So let's switch to the object manager. Well, let's even move that down here and just drag and drop it into this field here. And now we can make it invisible in the objects manager because we want to make it visible using the new core technology. And to do that, we have to update the parameter port just once. So here's everything that we can use from the object that we just imported. If we want to connect the geometry to the scene, this is not possible. What we need is an operator stream. So let me go back to the operators here, and there is one that is called geometry op. So we can pipe up the geometry to the geometry op, and then we can output this to the scene. So now we've got this. And this is also where the fun begins. So if you've got an object and you bring it into scene nodes like that, you can put several other nodes in between here and procedurally model objects. So let me go to the geometry category, and here we've got a bunch of stuff. For example, we can inset the whole thing. So let me throw that onto this line. You can see right now everything explodes. This is because the default inset is quite high. Let's set this to proportional. And now we can already see, okay, something is happening here. And yeah, we can adjust the inset here. Maybe let's say that we want to delete these polygons or the original polygons so that we've got holes in here. We can also do that because there is a delete node. So I just hit C and I type in delete and then it shows up. So this is also a good way to search for node once you know how they are called. And the delete node needs a selection. So how can we create a polygon selection of these polygons that we are going to delete? Well, of course, there is another node, and I'm going to hit C again to bring up the nodes commander, and I type in selection, and this will bring up everything that has to do with the selection. And there's one called selection range. So let me drop this in here, and then you see, okay, it needs some geometry to create the selection. And in here, it is set to select all, which is good at this stage. And we want to create a polygon selection. And now we throw that into the delete node, and here we go. So this is already looking quite nice. And now we can start doing more stuff here. So let me extrude the whole thing like so. Okay. looking good, but let me use the islands here and also create caps for the back sides here. And let's just do this by 10 centimeters instead of 20, or maybe even less. No, that's okay. All right. And the last thing I want to do is to create a subdivide node. So let's just type in subdivide. Here we go. And we just put that into the stream. We can choose if we want to have a smooth subdivision or not. And I want it to be smooth. So here is what we come up with in the end. So we can also bring up the iterations to make it even smoother. And you can see that this is incredibly flexible. So even now I can go back to the inset and, well, make the holes a little bit smaller or create some inset variation like so. And yeah.
Possible to use node materials currently in this setup?
Yes.
Or
it is.
Okay.
And well, let me just create one. Let me create from the node material presets. Let me create the gold material. So this is our gold material. And now let me hit this button to go back to the C nodes, because right now we have been in the material nodes system. And the way you would add a material is, as I showed before, you go to the operators and then you just drag and drop the material op in. And this is like the material tag before. And we just drag and drop the gold material in here. And this way we apply it. There's also some other cool stuff that you can do. For example, instead of using the material directly here, we can delete that. And we've got a node that is called material parametrization. And this one is really awesome. So let me bring down this material, bring me in the material here. And in the nodes material, let me also open this up in the node editor. So let's say we want to create another base color here. We can just drag a wire and propagate the port here. And now we've got an output here for the, oh, maybe this isn't even necessary. I think it's not necessary because we've got a start node already here. And if I now jump back and just hit update material parameter ports, it will bring me all of these parameter ports that have been exposed to that node that you just saw into the node, into the C node system. And now I could just create another color. I could just create a strength map and whatnot, and also randomize that whole stuff. So that is pretty cool.
If redshift materials will work with the material op?
Redshift materials will work with the material op. They currently don't work with material parametrization, but with the material op, if you just go this way, they will work. Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So let me continue. That's well, we've got 6 minutes left and still a lot of stuff to show. Let me just go to Magic Bullet Looks. And or are there any other node questions for now?
We've got a few node questions. I think this is a slightly larger topic. Can you explain the concept of upstream versus geometry?
Yes. The geometry is just a part of the whole upstream. Well, let me go back to the other scene and to the nodes. So here we've got the upstream, and here we've got a geometry output. So in this case, we're just using the geometry. This geometry doesn't have a matrix, so no position in space and so on. You cannot rotate it, you cannot transform it. It's just the geometry data, the pure geometry data without any colors, nothing. except for the geometry. And then we do some stuff to the geometry. We can set up selections using all of these nodes and so on. And then we add it to the upstream. And the upstream contains more data than just the geometry. If I unfold this, you can see that right now it's just the geometry. But when I unfold this, you can see that it's the geometry and the material. Once I create, let's say, a color op, like so, you see that now color is part of the stream. And so this stream contains all of the data that you set up before. There are some things that you have to separate out, at least in some situations, like, for example, the geometry, as I showed you. But in the end, it will all come together here in the upstream. Another thing would be the matrix op, so position data and so on. So now we also have got the matrix in here. And this adds up until you've got everything in there that you need. Yeah, and that's the upstream. The upstream is a bunch of things. It's not just one particular thing. Does that make sense?
For that. Can cameras and lights be set up with the node editor yet?
No. What you can do though is you can create like placeholders in the old object system and the old object manager, and you can create lights and cameras and so on. They all work together because in the end it comes all together in the scene. And maybe if you are familiar with rigging and you know of execution orders inside of Cinema 4D, the important thing to know is that the scene node stuff will always be executed last on the frame. So yeah, you can, like I just did, bring in geometry from the objects manager and modify it. That is going to work, but you cannot bring stuff from the scene nodes back into the old system. But lighting and such things, they will work.
Okay, that's cool. Can nodes be used to trigger and respond to animations?
Well, not to. It depends.
Yeah.
Well, they cannot trigger animation because, as I told you, they are always executed last in the row, but they can react to animation. For example, if we have a look at this guy here, the legacy object import, you can see that you cannot just import the geometry data here. You can also import a matrix and so on. So you can get the position data of a specific object and so on. And of course, you can use that to do other stuff.
Yeah. As I say, it's we need to remember that this is still only kind of a tech preview, tech demo of what's going to come into Cinema 4D. You know, we've integrated a kind of real small snippet of, right, let's see how this can work. And for those people that really want to play with it, a chance for you to kind of see what's going to be coming under the hood. But by no means is it a 100% packaged final product yet.
No, it's far from that, but it's also worth releasing it because you can see this procedural modeling stuff that I can already do with the tech preview, right? And this is, in my opinion, where the C node stuff shines at the moment. There's other stuff that can be set up, like huge MoGraph setups. I'm on the MacBook Pro here, and I can, without any problem, I can have more than 1 million clones in the viewport, and the viewport is completely fluent. Setting up animations, though, is or can be a pretty complex task right now. This is going to change, as Matt already mentioned. This is a tech preview, and in the future we will also focus on usability and stuff like that. So yeah, keep that in mind when you use it. But I really want to encourage you to use it for procedural modeling because it's a lot of fun, and just by clicking a few nodes together, like I did. Have a look here. It's just these 5 geometry nodes that I used. So with 7 nodes, you can set up a geometry like this.
Can you then make it editable?
No.
Okay, no, because it won't come back into the old version of Cinema yet.
Yeah, it cannot come back. Well, no. It's not possible.
Thank you.
Yeah. But also, I'm pretty sure that in the future there's going to be some exchange stuff. So yeah.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. What else have we got to show? As I say, because we're overrunning. Shocking.
Right now we are starting to overrun, although we never overrun. I think we never overrun in the past. So
we could briefly say what is there, and we could fold this into some of the things that we're going to mention next week as well, because the topics you got less, those are whole topics in their own right. Plus, we might have some more things to say about those, because it's in a future session, because it sounds like from all the questions this is a topic worth diving into. But I would say that we can overrun by not overrunning for a couple of minutes and just show what's there, and then we can follow up next week.
Okay, let's say 10 minutes and I will be able to show everything.
Got it. Clock is counting. If you can bear with us, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, that would be nice. All right. Next thing, Magic Bullet looks. And the good thing is that most of you might be familiar with Magic Bullet looks, because you might already know it from After Effects or something, or some of the other host applications. So let me bring up the picture viewer here. And I want to create a look for that. First of all, we need to make sure that Magic Bullet looks is enabled here in the render settings. And if it's not in here, you can just open it here from the effects. But now with R23, it is there by default. All right, so let me go to View in the picture viewer and go to Send to Magic Bullet Looks. And this will open up this scene in Magic Bullet Looks. And now we can start creating a look. I will just create a very simple one, maybe just with hue and saturation. And let me bring up the saturation a little bit, and well, use another tool as well. Maybe make it pop a little bit more.
And this is integrated into Cinema. So for people who are about to ask the question, you don't need a Red Giant subscription in order for this to work. It's not a plugin. It's not a paid for thing. This is part of R23.
Exactly. But the cool thing,
Magic Bullet looks in Cinema. Surely
yes.
It can't be.
So, and
it's
here
like there's some form of merger.
Yeah. Now we've got also chromatic aberration in here, and let's say we like this one. So I hit this little button and I can save this as a preset. Let's say live webinar, and save this. And now I'm going to jump to After Effects. And I've got the picture already here. And I go to Edit with the Magic Bullet Looks effect already applied. And then I go to Looks here. And what you have to know is that Looks comes with more than 200 presets. And they are all awesome. And they're, well, you can use it right out of the box, but you can also just apply them and modify them. So that's really good stuff. And we can now go to Custom Looks. And here is my live webinar look that I just created. Here with the chromatic aberration and hue saturation and pop. And we can just apply this, and now it is there. So that is pretty cool, because it proves that this perfectly well integrates with post-production pipelines of any kind. Well, when you use the programs that are supported by Magic Bullet Looks, which are a bunch, like Adobe After Effects, Premiere, Final Cut Pro, Avid, and so on. There are a couple more. So let me jump back here, because I want to show you another thing in this scene here. A nice guitar. Here we go. And well, let's say we just want well, a little bit of shininess in here. So what we can do is we go to View, send the viewport to Magic Bullet Looks, and then we can add, for example, let's go to the matte effects. We can add a diffusion, for example. Here you can see that it's a little bit there. We can also make it a little bit more shiny. And we can also add a star filter. And this, well, just provides us with these stars here. And let's just hit OK. And now when we go to options, Magic Bullet looks, you can see that this is now live in the viewport. And yeah, we can just make the viewport display more appealing, or use it for rendering in the end in a little bit, well, in a more, let's say, beautiful way. And because we can also go to the viewport render settings here and can have Magic Bullet looks applied. So here we can just enable it when we render using the viewport. All right, last topic is UVs. And let's go to the UV edit layout. So one thing that we implemented here is snapping. So all of our cool snapping features are now part of the UV editing. And if I enable snapping here, and it's set to vertex snap, we can just snap points onto other points. We can snap them onto edges, for example. But we can also do pixel snapping, and pixel snapping is quite important if you have got an artwork from a print store or something, or if you've got the print data, how you need to set up your layout in order to be printed the right way. You can now really create your UV layout on that layout for printing, and just create it in a pixel perfect way, which is awesome. All right, and then there are a few more commands, and I'm going to show you them in this scene here. Let me just get rid of a few things.
Just to quickly say, on top of what we were talking about, no, the Magic Bullet looks for After Effects is part of the Red Giant thing. So only the Magic Bullet looks in Cinema is part of R23. You will need an active Red Giant subscription in order to be able to do what Jonas did and put the Magic Bullet looks information into After Effects.
Yeah. All right.
Is there such a thing as Maxon 1, by the way, which has everything Red Giant does and everything that Maxon does?
Well, you might be surprised, but there is a product called Maxon 1.
What a coincidence. Little entrance, wasn't it?
Good segue, I like that. Yes, last week we released our Maxon 1, which is a subscription that you can now get directly from the maxon.net website, which allows users to license Red Giant Complete, Cinema 4D, and Redshift for Cinema on a single machine sitting in front of them. So, do please head over and have a look at that. If you've got all of those three and you're a kind of single standalone user, then it's going to be a great and cost-effective solution for you. But I'll let Jonas carry on with his UV stuff. Sorry.
All right. We've got three small commands that I want to show you. One of them is align UV islands. So let's imagine this situation where you've got a symmetry or a symmetrized UV island here, and you want to align it perfectly so that you can work with symmetry when you paint, but you cannot align it perfectly here. There will always be a little bit of an inaccuracy. So what you can do now is you can go to edge mode and just select one edge here on the symmetry axis, and then you hit UV islands and it will snap to the perfect straight alignment. So this is pretty cool. And then if we go to the trousers or pants, depending on where you are, there are also two new commands here. One is the UV straighten command, and we can just hit that so you see what it does. It just creates a straight line out of, well, a selection that you created, an edge selection that you created, preferably a loop or something. But sometimes you don't want to have it that way, but you want the first and the last point to be the same, and then it should be straightened. And you can also do that simply by going to the cogwheel here and unchecking auto align and hit OK. And now you see that the first point and the last point are still the same. And then here's the last thing that I want to show today. Let me just, let's just fill that selection here like so, and detach this part of the UV mesh. And here you can see that actually, if you have a look at the topology here, this could be a perfect rectangle, right? And now there's a command that you can really turn that into a perfect rectangle. And if you hit the cogwheel here, you can also check equidistant distribution, and this will, yeah, just make it equidistant. So that is everything I wanted to show, and I think I didn't break my promise and was still within the 10 minutes range that I promised.
Pretty much, yes. I think that was nicely done.
You've been talking for a minute as well.
Yes, that was it. It was my fault.
That's right. Those minutes are extended, so it's within acceptable parameters.
Right. So if you've got a few more questions, just ask them, but keep in mind that some of the people might already have to leave because of meetings, because of, well, end of the workday.
Yeah. We've got, please would you consider doing a presentation or tutorial on using multiple images for photo texturing through the new UV editor? I think there's a webinar right there somewhere.
I think so too.
Yeah,
let's
for questions, I think we've pretty much got through everything that people have asked. So thank you very much, Jonas, for your presentation. As you've sort of noticed, we've been sort of sat back a bit and let Jonas take the reins on this one. as
amazing.
Welcome.
Jonas, would you mind bringing up the page that has the YouTube channel where we put the recordings for these webinars?
Yes.
Because just in case anyone missed it at the beginning, this is where you can watch not only this session all over again, but
actually I don't know
multiple sessions. Oh,
I can give it back to Elly. Elly has it still open.
That would work perfectly.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Here you go.
Here you go.
You just got me now. Oh, great. We can see your screen. Great stuff. So that's just really to give everyone a reminder that all these recordings are posted here after all these webinars. And please feel free to comment on there. If you've got further questions that we can fold into future sessions like this, please let us know, because we do take note of the questions and comments that you put in all of these webinars, and believe we do. And so that means then it helps us to run more informed things. And I know we try and cram too much in because there's so much that we want to share with you, but that's the general idea. To kind of react to find out what you'd like us to cover. But thank you again, and especially thank you, Jonas, for running those through those topics as well at speed.
Welcome.
And thank you for everyone for keeping up and asking questions about them as well. So it's more than likely during the next couple of weeks that we'll kind of reference some of these things as well. But what have we got coming up next week?
Well, next week we're going to talk about the unified weighting system inside of Cinema 4D, which is called fields, the field system. And well, by using fields, you can create a bunch of really incredible effects. So definitely check that out.
Sign up.
Absolutely.
And I also give Elly and Matt the chance to show some setups.
You can have a bit more of a rest during the next hour.
Absolutely, some great comments on here, especially from Thomas. My head is exploding. So
yeah, it's been a lot.
Then our
Sorry for
job is
that.
done. Yes. Excellent. And also we'll factor in, or we've got to go really, because we've been overstaying our welcome too long, and we do recognise that you, as Jonas said, you have other meetings to go to, but we will take these messages on board, especially just last one from Greg. The best way to learn Cinema 4D from beginning to end. As I think Matt put in there, Cineversity for sure is a great place to learn. Oh, was it you, Elly? Oh, well done.
Was a little quick type.
But that actually is one of the reasons that we're putting these themed months together, like for example that we're concentrating on MoGraph and what's the best way to learn everything. And the second instance for this answer, it depends, of course, but hopefully we can give you kind of an angle, because there's so many different approaches that you might be wanting to take when you're working with 3D. There's different disciplines and different disciplines really that you need to involve. So that's the long-winded answer. The short one is Cineversity, and come back next week for more of this.
Definitely.
Excellent.
All right, see you guys.
Thank you. Thanks again for coming.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.